So welcome to this second video on the basics of how to live free and committed relationship. And this video will be about what are you co-accountable for in your relationship. So there is Sophie, me, and also there is the relationship. And for the purpose of making it visible, we're going to use this scarf. So there is Sophie, me, and the relationship. And a relationship like this scarf has two ends. And for a relationship to exist, we need two people who consents to the relationship. If Sophie doesn't want to be in a relationship with me, she can just drop the relationship. And right now, I'm the only one holding the relationship. And if I don't want to be in a relationship with Sophie, I can just drop it. So that's the first step. You cannot be in a relationship with someone that you don't want to be. So when I hear stuff like, yeah, I'm with him, I'm still in a relationship where I want to be, that doesn't exist. The moment I choose not to be in a relationship, I have the power at the end of my relationship to let go of the relationship. You should try at home, like with your partner, with a friend or someone, just hold a relationship and see that you have the power of letting it go and see how it feels in your body, because it's a good interpretation of it's really hard for me to let go of a relationship. And if it is, just feel, and it's already a first process to start being more free in your relationship. Major first insight. You cannot be in a relationship unless you consent to it and you chose it. You cannot be in a toxic relationship unless you're choosing to be in one. If you have issue around that or question around that, write me. I'll be happy to answer. So whenever you talk to someone or anyone, like your baker or your friend or your partner, there is a relationship happening. There is that happening. So that's the first step. The first step to any relationship is two people consenting to the relationship. And so once the relationship is created, there is two things that we are co-accountable for, 50-50. And me, 50% till here, and Sophie, if you can do the same, she's also 50-50 responsible for two things. One is the nature of the relationship. It is a love relationship, a business relationship, a friendship relationship, a parental relationship. And so it's up to you to decide in what relationship and with that person, in what am I? And so right now, we are in a mostly working relationship with Sophie at the moment because she's helping me. So we are co-responsible for choosing what is the nature of the relationship. That's something where sometimes it gets confusing is Sophie and I are also friends. But those are two different relationships. We have our work relationship here and we have a friendship relationship. And often people mix it together. And a good example where people mix it together is when you're parents and at the same time married together. So let's say that's the marital relationship and that's the parental relationship. And often people tend to confuse it. And that can also happen between your partner and you working together. And the idea is to really separate the two of them. That your love for your partner or your lack of love for your partner at some point doesn't hurt the parental relationship, or the parental relationship doesn't hurt your love relationship. And it's one example I like to give for me that is very clear where we get confusion. So for example, you're talking to your partner about the next time you want to go on a date or on a vacation, the two of you together. And one of your child comes and you're like, hey, I'm talking to mommy, or I'm talking to daddy. Confusion. At the moment, you're not talking to their dad or to their mom. You're talking to your partner, to the person you love. And so it's even important and even more important for your child to be, oh, okay, yeah, true. There's a distinction between mom, the man, the partner. You have different roles. And so in that moment, if you're talking about the next time you want to have sex with your partner, then you're talking to your partner. And so you should clearly state that to your children and be like, hey, I'm talking to my partner. If you're talking about the education of the child and he's coming like, hey, right now I'm talking to your dad. Do you want to be part of the conversation? Or we'll finish discussing that and me and your dad will be with you in 5 minutes. So it's very important to make that clear. And even on the long run, so children are clear that it's not my mom who's just having sex with my dad. It's the woman who is married to that man or to that woman, whatever relationship. So that's the first step. You are both co-responsible of the nature of the relationship. And just to be clear, when I'm talking about responsibility, I'm more also talking about accountability. What am I accountable for in my relationship? And when I talk about responsibility, which is a word that I love, because for me, responsibility is equivalent to freedom. And for me, freedom goes with being committed. You cannot be free if you're not committed, and you cannot be free if you're not responsible of your own life. Because if you're not responsible of your own life, it means that something else than you is responsible for it. And so it means that you're not free. And so when I talk about responsibility, I'm not talking about guilt. I'm talking about responsibility. My ability to respond from moment to moment. Now that is clear, when I talk that you're responsible for that or that in all of my videos, I'm talking about what you are responsible and no guilt. And if you feel guilty, I'll do another video and you can ask questions around that. But guilt is something I'd like for most people to get rid of most of the time, because it has nothing to do, as we saw earlier, in the other video, with the world of A and B, and often you confuse the facts with your interpretation of the facts. So the second thing that people are co-responsible or co-accountable in a relationship is the quality of the relationship. If it's jumpy and fluid, if it's tense, if it's, I don't know, if it's like very...
all around me.
All around you. If I feel suffocated by the relationship, and I don't like it. So we're co-responsible for that. And for example, if Sophie wants to tense the relationship, and then I move my hand, she cannot. If she tries to move or tense the relationship, as long as I am moving with her, you can see that the relationship is not tense. And the only way that the relationship can tense if Sophie tense it, go and tense it. If I resist, see, there is tension, but if I let go, then the tension goes away. So you can only be in tense relationship if the two of you agree to tense the relationship. For those who have like me, kind of victim mentality, I don't give a fuck who starts to tense the relationship. It doesn't matter who tense the relationship. The moment the other one tense, I am choosing to tense the relationship with that partner, and I have the power in every time and every moment in my relationship to not tense the relationship. But you start and it's child game. Who cares? The relationship is tense right now. What do we do to untense it? So for example, Sophie tensed the relationship. I do that. But now she has the power to let it go. We all have at any moment the power to stop tensing the relationship. You can only be in a tense relationship if the two of you choose to tense the relationship. You can only be in a joyful relationship if the two of you choose to bring joy and happiness to the relationship. You are co-responsible to be in a toxic relationship, to be in a perverse relationship, to be in any kind of bad stuff relationship. If you have a question around that, ask me a question. I'll be happy to explain and share more. And the second thing is, sometimes when we are two human beings and two friends, we're on an equal relationship. But sometimes it can be hierarchy. For example, if Sophie is my boss, or if Sophie is a judge, or if Sophie is a cop, we are not on equal terms. So you cannot behave the same way with a cop or your boss or someone who has authority around you. So you have to be very careful around that. And same, if you're in a relationship and you put the other person there, you're choosing to kneel down and to put that person on the pedestal. So you have the power to do that. It can be very challenging, but if you have any questions, send me a private message, or you can always book a discovery session. To sum up this video, you need two grown-up person, two adults who choose and consent to be in a relationship. You cannot be in a relationship that you don't want to be in. That's the first thing, you're consenting. And then you're co-accountable or co-responsible for two things in a relationship. The nature of the relationship. Is it friendship, love, partnership, parenting, and how many relationships you have with that person? You can have a friendship and a marital relationship and a lover relationship and a parental relationship and a work relationship with the same person. So you can have many relationships, and it's up to you to make them very clear. And it's another example from American Survivor. I think it's a TV show, and you have the wife of the president who asks the president of the United States to do something for her. But that stuff will put in jeopardy the integrity of the man as president. And his answer is, understand as a husband, but as a president, I cannot do that. And she's trying to manipulate the president through the marital relationship. And so for him, he has to be very clear. As a president, it's a no. As a friend or something, it's a yes. And if you want to see a very amazing distinction, when it's pretty much all of that, it's in the TV show The Crown, between the Crown, Elizabeth, and her sister. And often she's like, but that right now it's the Crown talking. And it's very difficult to be very aligned and in congruence with yourself, to be sure that when you're saying it's the Crown, it's the Crown, and when you're saying it's the partner, and not to mix the two of them. So you're responsible for the nature of the relationship, and you're also responsible for the quality of the relationship. You choose if your relationship is joyful, happy, tense, whatever. At your side of the relationship, you are 50-50 responsible if it's tense or not, joyful or not. If you have any question around that, send me private messages. And up onto the next step, which is, what am I only responsible or accountable for in the relationship?